Mirrors are gateways, silent, still, and ever watching. We glance into them every day, expecting to see ourselves. But what if the reflection gazing back isn't really you? What if, beneath that glass, something darker waits? Welcome to 3 true stories of haunted mirrors and what they reflected. These are not tales made for movies or stitched together from myths. These are true horror stories, chilling accounts of creepy stories, sleep paralysis, and haunted tales that trace their roots to paranormal activity, dark secrets, and something far more sinister than simple superstition. If you're drawn to true scary horror stories, urban legends, and eerie encounters that feel all too real, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. These mirrors didn't just reflect faces, they showed the dark folklore, terrifying tales, and souls trapped in glass. Now, dim the lights, check your surroundings, and whatever you do, don't turn your back on the mirror. This story is about the antique in room 209. For Jenna, moving into a renovated studio apartment felt like a new beginning. It was clean, affordable, and just a short walk from her new job. Everything was perfect, until she found the mirror. Tall, rectangular, and framed in black wood so dark it looked burned, it stood bolted to the wall in the hallway leading to her bathroom. She assumed it was left by a previous tenant, but when she asked the landlord to remove it, he just laughed. "That thing's part of the lease. Trust me, everyone's tried." At first, it was harmless. A few subtle shifts in reflection, her bathrobe appearing on the opposite hook, the lights in the mirror flickering when the real ones didn't. But then it escalated. One night, Jenna woke up gasping, trapped in sleep paralysis, unable to move as a cold pressure sat on her chest. She stared at the open door leading to the hallway, and into the mirror. In the reflection, she saw someone sitting on her bed. A pale woman, hair over her face, unmoving. But when she forced herself awake fully, no one was there. Convinced it was just stress, Jenna started recording short clips of the mirror at night. Most were normal. But one morning, she noticed something bone-chilling. At exactly 2:03 a.m., her phone captured movement, a hand pressing from behind the mirror's surface, long fingers, twitching, trying to push through the glass. True stories like this aren't fiction. They're paranormal records hidden in plain sight. Days later, Jenna found a dark, wet handprint smeared across her bathroom sink. Her window was locked. Her door. Deadbolt. The mirror. Spotless. But the smell, it reeked of mold, like something rotten had crawled through the walls. That night, she covered the mirror with a towel. It stayed up for hours. But by morning, the towel was folded on the floor, and scrawled across the glass were the words, "I see you." Jenna consulted a psychic who specialized in haunted objects and ghost stories. The psychic claimed the mirror was a spiritual conduit, used in the 1800s during seances. The soul trapped inside was known as the Watcher. Not a ghost. Not even a demon. Just a presence, one that mirrored its host's thoughts until it became them. She tried to move. The landlord refused to let her out of her lease. The worst night came 3 weeks later. Jenna fell asleep on the couch. At 3:17 a.m., she woke up, hearing her own voice calling from the hallway. But she hadn't spoken. She looked up, and saw herself in the mirror, only the reflection was smiling wide, eyes black, and whispering something her real self couldn't hear. She moved out the next morning. But every mirror in her new home eventually began to fog at the same time, 3:17 a.m. And every time she wiped it clean, there she was again, her reflection, smiling, only her real mouth stayed still. It hadn't stayed behind. It followed. Even after switching apartments, states, and phone numbers, the haunted tales continued. Jenna's new place had no mirrors, yet every time she walked past reflective glass, storefront windows, the screen of her phone, even a pot lid, she'd see it, that twisted smile in the background, watching. The reflection always stayed a beat too long, blinking a second late. Her reality had blurred. One night, she tried documenting it all, writing down every incident to find a pattern. She discovered that the mirror had been mentioned in several urban legends, dating back over 100 years. Every person who'd owned it had either gone missing or was institutionalized, babbling about the woman in the glass. Jenna's story wasn't unique. It was just the next chapter in a nightmare tale that had never ended. Eventually, Jenna stopped sleeping. The hallucinations worsened. Her lights would flicker. The whispers became clearer. She'd hear herself sobbing from inside the walls. The final straw came when she caught her own reflection standing still in the mirror as she walked by, frozen in place, staring at her back. The reflection raised one hand, index finger pressed to its lips, as if to say, "Don't scream." Now Jenna lives in isolation. Every surface in her home is covered with bed sheets or black paint. She doesn't own a phone. No computer. No screens. No mirrors. But sometimes, on especially quiet nights, she swears she hears the whisper again. "I see you." If Home Alone horror stories, scary stories animated, and sleep stories like this get under your skin, stay close. The next haunted mirror didn't just show horrors. It spoke them aloud. This story is about the family mirror. Ty and his younger brother Noah were cleaning out their grandmother's old house after she passed. Tucked away in the attic, under a dusty sheet, they found an antique mirror, oval-shaped, silver-framed, and still spotless after decades. Noah insisted on taking it home, claiming it was cool and aesthetic. But from the moment the mirror entered their apartment, the atmosphere changed. They'd hear tapping sounds in the middle of the night, always from the mirror's direction. The cat refused to go near it. At exactly 1:11 a.m., the TV would turn itself on, only to display static, until the screen would blink and show a distorted version of their living room, as if it was being filmed from inside the mirror. Noah's behavior began changing. He'd spend hours staring into the mirror, mumbling to himself. Ty once caught him whispering, "I can see her now, she's waiting for me." When Ty asked who, Noah only smiled and walked away. Then came the drawings. Noah, once a terrible artist, began sketching detailed portraits of a woman, long hair, hollow cheeks, black pits for eyes. He claimed it was the girl from the mirror. Every one of his sketches showed her hand pressed against glass, reaching. One night, Ty woke to find Noah standing in front of the mirror, face inches from the glass. "She's coming tonight," he whispered. "She says I'll be free." Terrified, Ty yanked him away and covered the mirror. That night, Noah screamed in his sleep, clawing at his face, shouting, "Let me back in." By morning, he had 3 long scratches across his cheek, mirroring the ones on the woman in his drawings. They took the mirror to a church. The priest who examined it grew pale and refused to keep it. "This isn't just haunted," he said. "It's possessed. Someone used it to trap a soul, and now it wants a new one." They buried the mirror deep in the woods and left. For a while, everything was fine. But Ty would sometimes catch Noah staring into dark windows, whispering. He asked who he was talking to. Noah smiled. "She's everywhere now." Ty started noticing odd reflections in unrelated surfaces, spoons, car windows, even puddles. Always the same image, a faint outline of a woman behind him. These weren't tricks of the light. These were eerie experiences, growing harder to explain. He even saw her once in the lens of his own eye while shaving, just a flicker, gone before he could move. That was when he knew the curse wasn't bound to the mirror anymore. It had escaped. One evening, he returned home to find all the mirrors in the apartment uncovered. Noah sat in the center of the room, surrounded by dozens of sketches, each more grotesque than the last. "She's not trapped anymore," Noah said, eyes wide, unblinking. "She's part of me now." Ty grabbed him and fled the apartment. But as they ran, every screen, TVs in windows, smartphones on counters, flickered to life, showing the same thing, the girl in the mirror, smiling. They moved in with a friend. No mirrors. No screens. But even then, Ty could hear whispers at night, creepy stories, half-formed sentences spoken in reverse, echoing from drains, vents, even inside his dreams. And worst of all, he started drawing her too. Without realizing. Sketching her face on napkins, notebooks, scraps of paper, every version a little closer to lifelike. True scary horror stories like this aren't just paranormal cautionary tales. They're warnings. Some urban legends about haunted mirrors aren't stories, they're infections. Once you see the girl in the glass, you've already been marked. And whether you bury the mirror, burn it, or smash it into dust, you've already let her in. Creepy stories, paranormal tales, and haunted stories like this are reminders. Some mirrors aren't made to reflect. They're made to hold something in. This story is about the smiling reflection. Aiden, a high school art teacher, lived alone in a high-rise downtown. For his birthday, a friend gave him a decorative hand mirror she'd picked up at an antique market. It was old, engraved with swirling patterns, and had a faint reddish tint to its reflection, like looking through watered-down blood. He put it on his nightstand and didn't think much of it. But that night, something strange happened. Aiden awoke to a faint chuckle. At first, he thought it was from the street below. But the sound repeated, closer. He turned on the light. No one. Just the mirror on the table, facing him. He stared into it, and for a brief moment, his reflection smiled. But Aiden hadn't. That was just the beginning. Every night, the sleep paralysis returned. He'd open his eyes, frozen, unable to move, watching as his reflection slowly sat up, even though he remained lying down. He smashed the mirror after a week. But when he woke up the next day, it was whole again. No cracks. No sign it had ever been touched. Then came the night Aiden dreamt of himself walking through a long hallway, lined with mirrors on both sides, each reflection showing him older, more twisted, more monstrous. He reached the final mirror in the dream, and it didn't show him at all. It showed the hand mirror. And behind it, someone else, wearing his skin. After that, things spiraled. Aiden's coworkers noticed he seemed different, colder. Less empathetic. He'd zone out mid-sentence, muttering to himself about trapped light and false reflections. He claimed to see the past in mirrors. People long dead, watching, mimicking, waiting. Then he stopped coming to work entirely. Police entered his apartment weeks later and found a room covered entirely in mirrors. The hand mirror sat in the center of the floor. There was no sign of Aiden. But in every mirror, he was there. Smiling. At first, detectives assumed he'd fled. But the security cameras told a different story. None showed him leaving. Ever. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. One investigator reported a disturbing moment. While cataloging the apartment's contents, he looked into one of the mirrors and saw Aiden standing behind him, just over his shoulder. He turned, no one. But the reflection lingered for several seconds longer than it should have. Now the mirror is locked away in an evidence vault, but strange reports continue. Guards say the lights flicker near it, and motion sensors in the room go off nightly, always between 3 o'clock and 3:33 a.m. Some staff refuse to even enter the storage unit. They claim the mirror hums softly and occasionally shows reflections that aren't theirs, reflections that blink when they don't. True horror stories like this aren't just creepy tales, they're haunted stories that refuse to stay contained. This wasn't just a haunted mirror. It was a spiritual parasite, a soul trap that replicated its host. Aiden didn't disappear. According to some urban legends, mirrors don't destroy you. They copy you. And once the copy is complete, you're no longer needed. These terrifying tales serve as a warning. Some ghost stories and nightmare tales don't fade. They spread. They echo through paranormal activity, eerie experiences, and creepy stories passed from one victim to the next. Because the scariest part of owning a mirror isn't what you might see. It's what might see you back. Some dark folklore isn't myth, it's a trap. Because in the end, the mirror doesn't show what's behind you. It shows what's becoming you. These true scary horror stories aren't just whispers in the dark. They're a chilling reminder that sometimes, paranormal terror, urban fright, and creepy stories don't knock on your door. They climb through your reflection. So if you enjoyed these terrifying tales, eerie experiences, and scary animations that make you question what you just saw, like, subscribe, and share with someone brave enough to look. And remember, the next time you stare into a mirror, pay attention to what doesn't move when you do. Because in some haunted mirrors, you're not the one being reflected.